couple of them actually told me they felt offended that they were asked to do a design challenge. They were like, I have 15 years of experience. Why the hell would I need to do a design challenge? No way.
Hi, I'm Adila.
I'm Shen,
And you're listening to Kiasu Design Live.
Hello everyone.
Today's episode is a bit special. We have a special guest.
So since Kiasu Design Live started, our content is usually from the perspective of us as designers. But something's always at the back of our head, which is like, how do we enable a more balanced perspective on Kiasu Design Live? And it's not just for the designers.
Yeah. So basically, to help us with that, today we have a special guest, and that is Sangeetha.
She is a product and design recruiter in Singapore. She's also one of the main organizers of Singapore Product Design.
I think you met her, right, Xuan?
Yes, I met her at the FOF event and Studio Dojo. I think we connected on LinkedIn. Again, thanks to Friends of Figma for making that happen. What prompted us to want to get Sangeetha on the show is because she actually released a report on LinkedIn called The Dynamics of Singapore Product Design Job Market, which was really insightful. And we just thought, hey, how about let's bring her in to bring a lot more color to the content of Kiasu Design Live.
So let's welcome Sangeetha.
Hello!
Thank you guys. I'm super excited. This is my first podcast, so a little nervous.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad.
Thank you, Mom.
Yeah, so a little intro about myself. I'm Sangeetha. I've been a product and design recruiter for 2.5 years already. Yeah, and I really enjoy this space, and one of the main reasons why I decided to pursue product and design is because I feel like I connect on a personal level with designers. And after learning more about what you guys do, what UX is, what UI is, it also gave me a really strong interest to really understand the space. And there's a lot of, it's not just about drawing and coming up with pretty designs. There's a lot more in depth to it. There's a lot more psychology to it as well, understanding the users, the people on a deeper level.
So basically, did you study design?
No, I did not. So I actually studied psychology. That was my bachelor's, and then I continued to do my master's, but my master's was in counseling. So which is very, very different from what I'm doing right now.
I see.
Yeah, but the similarity comes to it that, you handle people in the end.
Yeah.
Which is also, there's a lot of transferable skills to recruitment as well. Yeah.
So when you were studying counseling, what sort of career did you have in mind originally?
Well, I wanted to be a counselor. I wanted to be a therapist.
Or social worker, something like that.
More of a counselor. Yeah.
Okay.
But then when I was trying to find a job during COVID, there was a lot of difficulty in it. And then I chanced upon recruitment through a friend.
Okay.
So yeah, it was accidental. But I got the job. In 2021, the job market was very hot. So tech was booming, plenty of jobs in tech, like people were leaving, people were getting like multiple offers here and there. And it was the right space to be.
Yeah.
And at that point, UX was gaining a lot of demand as well. And then my manager asked me to, why don't you do UX, like product design hiring and also front-end engineering. And I did that. But then 6 months later, I realized that I connected more with the designers. No offense to any engineers.
I'm not sure if any engineers listen to us, though.
I don't know. My chats with the engineers lasted 5 minutes, but my chats with my designers lasted for 30 minutes.
So you vibe with the designers.
Yeah, so I vibe more. I mean, engineers, you guys are great.
So you're like, okay, I'm going to help this designer.
Yeah. And then I told my manager, I want to pursue design. Just let me handle design. And that's when I did. And then about 1 year later, I just expanded my desk to product as well. So like product managers, anything related to product and design, that's where I focus on.
So would you say what inspired you was basically your talks with all the different designers?
In order for me to be a specialist, I need to understand the space.
Yeah.
I need to understand what you guys are doing. And I was really passionate about it. So I was like, okay, if I want to help this group of people, I need to understand what the craft is. Yeah, so which is why I pursued deeper, and I made the effort to really get to know you guys, like how you guys think, even the personality wise. If I come in suits and formal pants and blazers, it can be a little bit off, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you dress when you meet designers?
Like basic just t-shirt and jeans.
Like
And
casual,
sometimes I like
everyday.
my workout clothes also.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's just how the vibe is, you gotta vibe with the people whom you'll be chatting on an everyday basis.
Right.
Yeah.
Speak and dress.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Do you have to take up maybe a crash course into UX just to learn the terms?
I did a lot of reading and watch a lot of YouTube videos.
Oh wow.
Okay, so you were self-taught.
How I learned is really just speaking to many designers and really involving myself in the community.
When you say community, is the product design community?
SPD, that is getting into the Design SG Telegram chat, getting into groups, just speaking to designers. When I first started, I was like, what in the world is UX? What is this? And then when I got to know more and more, I actually asked them, can you explain what's the difference between UX and UI? Just let me, because I'm curious. And I realized there's no harm asking that question.
Of course.
Yeah, usually people are passionate in trying to answer that also, right?
Yeah, they are. Some people take offense.
Hold my beer.
Yeah, and I know some designers also take offense when it's UI and UX the same, they are the same, right? But it's not. No, it's very different.
Do you go to design events so far?
Yes, I do. In the beginning, I used to go to any design events, and I'll just show up there like the only person who's not a designer.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if you were to advertise yourself hi, I'm a recruiter, then all the designers swarm to you.
Yeah, they do. That's totally normal. Just to understand the job market. Yeah, but for me, I'm doing it out of interest. I'm not doing it because it's my job. If not, it'll be very, very sad.
Okay, cool. Thanks for the colorful introduction of yours. We are very, very excited to speak to you about this. So before we move into the actual interview around recruitment and also the job market, we also posted on our Instagram announcing that we are interviewing you. So we also get the followers to post their own questions if they have any questions around that. And I was quite surprised by the number of responses. So I think it's a sign that, people are really interested. Yeah. And maybe they don't get that much of an opportunity to ask these kind of questions. So we will weave into the different parts of the whole interview with Yula. Also today we got Sangeetha sugarcane juice. So there's actually a significance to this.
Oh, really?
Because we posted on our IG, then we say, ask more questions, because we're gonna squeeze you dry like sugarcane.
Oh gosh. Okay, no.
So please enjoy this.
Thank you.
From Kopitiam. No, not sponsored. But yeah, keeping it very local as well. So also, we are recording this at Brief's studio space.
Yes.
So just want to thank Alistair and Brief for sponsoring this nice space.
Thanks, Ellie.
Hi, this is Alistair from Brief. Thanks to Kiasu Design Life for allowing us to sponsor this episode. At Brief, our passion lies in turning thoughtful research into designs that carry meaning and purpose. We deep dive into understanding the needs, trends, and context to ensure that every project we touch turns into something truly special and resonant. If you're intrigued by how our approach might help you at your company, reach out to us at keepitbrief.co.
So as designers, we roughly know what is our day-to-day like. We are busy doing research or doing design.
Not post-its, man. Not just playing with post-its.
That's you lah. Yeah, so we are very curious to know, Sangeetha, what's your day-to-day like as a recruiter?
Okay, a day-to-day of mine consists of really just talking to people. In the morning, I will check my emails and also my LinkedIn messages. So usually I get quite a few messages in the morning, maybe around 5 messages in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's in the morning. And then I'll try to respond to them whenever I can. And then the next it will include sourcing. depending on the roles that I have, it's where I source. How I source is mainly through the community. So that sometimes the Telegram chats and also the contacts that I have. So right now, like since I've been in the recruitment space for about 2.5 years, I really have a sheet like my talent pool. So where all the contacts that I have and also the profiles that I already have on hand, which I actually kind of categorize them based on the skill set, what they can deliver, and also industry preference and like years of experience, whether they are locals or they are foreigners, if they require EP or S-Pass, and also the seniority level.
I see.
So if I have any roles, I will reach out to those first because they are in my contacts as well.
So you are sitting in between the employer and employee, and you are
Yes.
handling both sides basically.
Yeah, I handle both ends.
And when you say you receive LinkedIn messages, is it from both sides as well?
Well,
or?
majority of the time, the LinkedIn messages, they end up asking whether if there are opportunities. Sometimes they just want to get market information. So I'm always happy to chat to them, like if they want to find out what's happening in the market, what they're looking for. Like I always tell you, like I'm open to having a chat all the time. So my day is basically responding to emails, messages, LinkedIn messages, WhatsApp messages,
Scheduling the meetings.
scheduling meeting, and also planning in terms of like getting profiles out there in the market. So if I have a really good profile, let's say this designer is really looking out, I see the like a lot of potential. I think this person can get hired like pretty soon in terms of their availability period, what like their skill sets, then I will just send those profiles to the clients that my company is working with and see whether if they're open to having a chat.
I'm interested to know, like, okay, given I'm a designer, can I just reach out to you, or is it I have to go through some process for my name to be considered in your lists?
Okay, so I am working for a recruitment firm, which means I'm considered as an external recruiter. So there are two types of recruiters. You have your talent acquisition. So these talent acquisition, they are considered as internal recruiters, which means that they work for a company that's hiring internally for themselves. So they don't work for a recruitment firm. So for me, I work for a recruitment firm, which is We Network, and we partner with other tech companies to help hire for them. So the reason why we help them is because they can't find the right candidate or they're facing a lot of difficulties in filling that role. And perhaps also for multiple reasons, it's because maybe either the recruiter or the hiring manager doesn't know what the right profile is. So they engage with a specialist recruitment firm that actually knows like how to shortlist and find the right profile for them.
Can it also be because maybe they don't have the manpower, so they outsource it to you to get it done?
Also, so for several reasons. The main reason is that it's because they can't find the right profile. So the job has been there for so long, but they need to find somebody immediately.
So you all have more breadth.
Yeah.
Because you are not locked into this company that you are serving, right?
Yes.
Like you are more of like a bird's eye view. You can kind of see like, okay, this one matches with the candidates.
Correct.
That's more possibility of that fit to happen.
Yes, and also we are mainly on the ground. So because we speak to several candidates and I'm able to gather the market information of what the role entails. So for me, my specialty is product and design. So clients, let's say if they want to hire a product designer, they can come to me because I am basically on the ground. I speak to designers every day.
So it's like that domain knowledge.
Yes, we have
product
the
design.
domain knowledge. I mean, I'm not saying that all TAs, like, they are not specialized. I'm sure there are a few who are. But generally, a lot of them, they are given multiple roles for various verticals to hire for. So they're not just handling just product and design. They need to handle other areas like I don't know, sales, marketing as well. And their job is to fill those roles. That's their KPI.
Yes.
Like they need to fill those roles for the hiring managers.
Right. That's why I hear from a lot of my friends also who are hiring. A lot of their feedback is like, oh, this TA don't know about product design one. Like they don't know what they are looking for.
Yeah.
So that's a common feedback.
That's an issue also that I face, because for me, when I work with companies and if I'm not working directly with the hiring manager, then I face those issues. Then I was like, why is it that this candidate is not shortlisted? Like, she ticks all the boxes. When I go more in depth, then she's not able to answer that, and that is also frustrating on my end.
Yeah. So the next one we're gonna ask is maybe a bit more juicy, which is, are there any stereotypes about recruiters and any that you would like to debunk?
Well, I think the only that I can think of would be generalizing that all recruiters are the same, which is not lah. Like I mentioned, right, like there's an external and internal recruiter. So external recruiters, I would say that we will always try to ensure that the candidate will get the role, because when they get placed, when they are successfully hired by the client, we also get the reward. We get commissions.
Okay.
And that is a huge motivator also. And it also is part of our KPIs lah.
Yeah.
But unlike talent acquisitions, they don't.
Oh, they don't have commissions.
Well, that's what I know lah.
Okay, I see.
Generally they don't.
Okay.
Unless there are some companies who pay, but I've not heard.
Okay.
Yeah, so not all recruiters are the same.
I
Let's say if you are on the lookout for a job, right?
Yeah.
Why you should go to an external recruiter is because they will definitely keep you in mind if you're a great candidate. Because they have the motivation, first of all, and they want to get you placed.
Okay, can I share my stereotype building on what you said? Like, if you tell me that my stereotype will be, then the recruiter sounds like a property agent who cares more about just want to sell the slot.
There is the business element, the transactional, for sure. But for me, it's like, it's not just all about business. If it's all about business, right, I wouldn't be doing this. I'm not getting paid to do this, right? I won't be going to the design events. Like, why? Why would I want to go there? So you can tell if somebody is a typical salesperson. It's very transactional.
There are out there.
Yeah, there
are
are,
out
which you
there.
can. I'm sure you can point that out. I won't speak for others lah. For me personally, is that I wouldn't end up like spending months trying to collate information about the market. I don't get paid extra to do that.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, that is really out of my own interest, because last year a lot of designers like got affected by the layoffs, which is quite sad. But for me, it's just I'm not a transactional person. Like, it's just not in my nature lah.
Right. Then what's a telltale sign that you can help us to differentiate between a property agent-esque recruiter versus someone like you?
Passionate recruiter.
If the recruiter or if the person is trying to sell you on something without listening to you, if they are doing more of the talking, then you know that they're trying to push that. It's something I learned in psychology and in counseling. But if you are genuinely keen to understand the person, then you wouldn't be doing most of the talking.
Okay. Okay, right. We would like to understand more about the design job market. Based on our observation, how would you describe the current job market for designers in Singapore?
Okay, so I will speak for last year, since like 2024 just started. Okay, last year, the design job market, to be honest, it was shit. So it was really shit.
It's very honest.
Yeah, but it's the fact lah.
What's the sign that makes it shit?
So there were a lot of layoffs, like as many of y'all know, and some of y'all probably have experienced it as well. When the layoffs happened, the fact is like the design function got impacted quite largely. I can only speak for Singapore, I can't speak for any other countries. And what I've noticed, many of the companies reallocated the design work to other countries, like within Southeast Asia. Or they decided to hire the designers from, let's say, from Indonesia or in Vietnam because of cost. It's much cheaper.
Right.
which is true. And this year so far, January, I do see things slowly picking up. Honestly, although it's still a little bit slow, but I'm quite optimistic that things will get better.
Are there signs that this is picking up?
Yeah, so there are signs in the fact that there's a lot more funding in startups. You know, for Singapore, it's one of the main countries that startups would like to actually grow.
Yeah.
And many founders, they are keen to actually have Singapore as their HQ. And also the government is also supportive of that. So that's one of the main reasons why I do see like things being optimistic. And also recently, I've also noticed that, you know, there's a lot more product roles out there. There's companies are starting to hire new PMs or new product leads. And when that happens, that means like there's hope for designers.
Also, like new PMs will usually lead to new designers.
Yes.
I guess
Yeah.
new teams are they
New teams, yeah. Because my company, We Network, we actually specialize in assisting mainly startups. So
Okay.
we have a huge client base, and our client base, majority of them are early stage to late stage startups.
Okay.
And when I did my job market research, I spoke to a lot of product and design leaders, and they also mentioned that they do see like there's some hope. I'm not saying that it will happen, but like they are optimistic, like things will get better in 2024. Whether it goes back to what it was 3 years ago, I doubt. But there will be like new jobs opening up.
Is there a difference in demand for junior versus more senior roles?
I mean, senior roles, let's say if you're talking about like head of design, like 10 years of experience and above, there will always be just a few.
Okay.
Demand for junior to mid-level, yes, there is. But I would also like to add that what the hiring managers, what companies are looking for has also changed.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
In what way?
So one of the main things, like based on the research that I've done, right, when I spoke to many product and design leaders, is that product designers should put on a hat of a PM. They should be able to think strategically. They should be able to collaborate and give the right business decision and also manage stakeholders. So it's not just about being able to use Figma really well or coming up with prototypes.
Right.
Like, you have to think as an entrepreneur. And that's one of the main challenges that hiring managers are facing in Singapore.
Like a designer having a business acumen.
Yes. Because the technical skills can be learned.
Yeah.
It can also be self-taught. But the ability to manage stakeholders and even convince them, to pitch to them, that is something that a designer should also hone.
Right. And that's fundamental, regardless of whether you are junior or
Yeah.
senior. Like, as long as you're a designer, now it will be good to also have a business
Acumen.
side of things.
I think it's vital.
It's vital. Ooh,
Yeah.
wow.
I think it's not just good, like it's a must.
Oh, wow.
Because when I screen candidates, I look out for those. Because
Okay.
it's not just about pleasing the candidates, right? I have to
Yeah.
please my clients.
Correct.
If I don't do a good job, they wouldn't want to work with me.
What are some signs that you see from the candidate that they have some form of business acumen? Is it from their job history, from their resume?
I would say the ones that stand out to me, not just recruiters, but hiring managers that look out for, is that when they have a side hustle. So they have a different business that they're doing completely outside of their working hours. And that shows that, this person is driven. And that's something that startup founders, they look out for those.
Okay, so that's more attractive.
That stands out. Like you want to stand out, especially in this market,
Right.
when a lot of people are looking out, even when they have a job, but they're still open to opportunities because of how uncertain the market is. There's a lot of fear out there. This is what I'm sensing. What if my company is going to do a layoff? In order to stand out, you have to have something different.
I have a question. Okay.
Yeah.
You were saying a side hustle as a side business, right? Would you consider content creator or like a design influencer a side hustle?
Oh, that's a very
Or
good
like
question.
you know how now there's a lot of TikTok influencers, or maybe this designer is popular or famous on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think that counts as well. Like even being active in the community, like doing this podcast, that's something that it adds value to who you are. It does show the creativity aspect. It just adds to who you are as a person as well.
Yeah.
Because hiring managers, they don't just want to know what technical skills you have. They also want to know who you are as a person. How can you add value? Because soft skills matter as much as hard skills.
You can teach hard skills, but it's hard to embody soft skills.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
And in this era that we are in now, networking is one of the most important skills.
Yeah.
Oh,
To
no,
hone.
it's a nightmare for introverts.
Actually, interesting point, because you were saying about how recruiters, they don't really know you. So it's like the resume is the only one touch point for them to know you. So if let's say you have a side business or a side hustle, all these are different touch points for the recruiter to know you even more, like have more data on you,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yes.
So from the way I see it is have more touch points of yourself for the recruiters to know about you.
Yeah, exactly.
Just now you are saying that the employers are looking for designers who have that business acumen, right? Then how does that compete with the PMs? Like, it feels like design and PM's job market is kind of mashing together. Like, does that reduce our chances of getting a role? Because it seems like we are also competing with the PMs.
I mean, I wouldn't say that you have to be a PM. I'm saying that you got to be able to think like a PM in order to execute your design.
Okay, so there is still this line between
Yes,
I think
PMs and
there's still a
designers.
difference. Because I feel that for designers, right, they have to be more focused on the craft and to deliver high quality visuals, high quality things, which you cannot rely on the PM. And at the same time, as a designer, you rely on the PM because the PM are the ones going to speak to the higher ups.
Yeah, they will still be the ones who will be managing the stakeholders directly. But in order to work effectively with the PM, you need to be able to
speak their language, basically.
speak their language.
Okay, so blending in.
Exactly, like thinking a little bit more strategically when it comes to design in terms of the cost of, let's say, each feature that you put in. You know, because it's expensive, right?
Yeah.
And this business acumen, like what you say, is vital for designers moving forward. Is it more just for startups or generally across?
Yes, it's a bit more relevant towards startups because startups, they are way more lean, right? Sometimes you got to work very closely with the founders.
Yeah.
But I would say in MNCs, it's a little bit different. There's a lot more protocols you got to follow.
Okay.
Right? And there's a lot more seniority levels. So, but I would say in order to stay relevant in this industry, I think the soft skills, the business acumen, the drive, being proactive, and also having a good network, those are really key factors.
Okay. I'm very interested in knowing for recruiters, when you look at designers, do you have like an internal classification of the designers? Like, okay, this is more UX design, this is more product thinking, product strategy, and this is more like consultant, and hence like affecting where you want to place these designers as candidates.
Okay, so for me, I categorize them in 4 different categories.
Okay.
UX/product.
Okay.
And then there's your UI. And then there's also the in-house and agency, like consulting.
Yeah.
Okay. So that this for how do you then factors in that classification?
It based on the profile, right? So if it's UX/product, that means like this person has more like the research element
Oh, okay.
as compared to UI. But I'm not saying that you don't have both. But like the portfolio actually showcases a lot more like the research aspect, like user interviews, the research methodologies, the personas.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is under UX and product. And then the UI is more graphic. So I see those profiles
More
as
craft.
more craft. Like a lot of them, they come from graphic background, graphic design background, and then they want to pivot into UI
Yeah.
or trying to pivot to UI UX. So that aspect, I would say, okay, this profile is more catered to a UI designer.
Right.
Yeah. And then the in-house agency, like, so some profiles, they come from design agencies or consulting, you know, your IBM, your IDEO. So they work more project basis.
Okay.
Usually these profiles, they have not really worked on a product from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
They've worked like maybe halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like deployed to different projects.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I would think it's like maybe you see a candidate, okay, this person is more UI focused, and then you will have to ask the person, does this person prefer to be in an agency or in-house?
It
Not
feels like
i-
a
i-
2 by 2.
Is it that sort of filtration?
I get what you mean. You're thinking of like a quadrant, right? So one is either you are a UX product or you are UI, and then the other one is either you are in-house or you are agency. So there's 4 roles that fits
Right.
inside this one.
Yeah, some hiring managers, like they would specifically, they don't want somebody from design agency background because they need somebody who has experience in working on a product from 0 to 1.
So doesn't mean maybe the employer is looking for someone who has agency experience, doesn't mean he wants it to be UX UI focused or X product focused.
No, I mean there's a lot of factors. I can't say it's just boiled down to that.
Okay.
Hiring for a designer, it's not just resume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to look at your portfolio as well. So, and there's a lot of other factors that needs to be considered.
But do you see any like trends within these categories? Like, are people looking out for more product designers, or are people looking out for more agency designers?
Okay, in terms of demand for roles, it's more leaning towards in-house.
Okay.
All right. But at the same time, okay, for agencies, right, it really depends on how the agency is doing. Like, whether are they getting projects,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
right?
True.
So if they are getting clients like and projects to work on, then the demand for designers will definitely go up,
Yeah.
right? But market is not so great also, right? So sometimes some of the roles that I see on LinkedIn, you know, for agencies, likely it can be either replacement as well.
Oh.
Yeah, but I would say it's really dependent on how the company is doing. If there's a demand for projects, there'll definitely be demand for designers.
So they are more shaken with the economy lah.
Yeah,
The
so
agencies.
exactly. So it really depends.
All right. Okay. So in this segment on design job market in Singapore, we actually have one listener's question for you. So we're just gonna help our listeners ask that question, which is, what's the career progression for UX designers working in Singapore? Is it like junior to senior to lead to end
What's
end of life?
Okay, career-wise, I would say it depends on whether do you want to go towards the managerial route or the individual contributor route. So if it's the managerial route, it will be junior, then mid-level, senior, then lead. But lead can be either individual contributor or manager. So if you are keen to be a manager, then as a lead product designer, then you'll probably have a chance to mentor a junior. If you do well, then you become a manager, and then a head of design, then followed by VP of design, and then like director. But this depends on the company.
Yeah. How big the company
How big
is,
the
right?
company is.
Yeah.
Sometimes startups, you can skip a few seniorities lah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
it depends, yeah. But if you are not keen on becoming a manager, then you can go towards the IC route, which is after a lead, you can become a principal
Okay.
product designer. And then sometimes they have staff product designer.
So what you're painting is that the route seems to have this fork in the road that leads to two routes lah.
Yeah.
One is the managerial, one is the IC route. Do you see that changing in the future?
I would say not really. So far, like in my time as a design recruiter, not so much. But it can be pretty lean in startups. Like in startup environment, it's like you can get promoted to a lead designer pretty fast. But I would say in order to progress, I would highly encourage you to take up a few responsibilities as a leader. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like invest your time with the stakeholders, getting more influence in the company's decision.
Basically, business acumen times
Back
two.
to that whole
Yeah.
business acumen
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. If you work well with your stakeholders, like
Yeah.
let's say with the founders, like from a startup perspective, then yeah, you can definitely grow.
I think that applies to big orgs also. Like if you are closer to the business decision making, then it's more likely that during the review cycle, when they want to promote people, then it's easier for the higher ups, like when they know your name.
Remember
then,
you by name.
Yeah,
and
then they're like, oh, Adila, yes, I know her. I will vouch for
Hey.
her to
Yeah.
get promoted. So having an influence more upstream to the business helps in all settings also.
Yes, yeah.
I just want to understand, because like when we are talking about this junior, senior, lead, principal, whatnot, I do hear of this thing called title inflation. Yeah, so some companies, they say, okay, we call you a lead designer, but when this lead designer goes to another company, they are disappointed to find out that how come you only grant me a senior designer? How's the slicing of this different kind of expertise
Yeah.
of the designer?
So like this is interesting because when I first started out as a design recruiter, when I saw some resumes, they're like, oh, they are lead product designer. And then I assumed that they were leading a team. But actually they were just in charge of the product.
Right.
Yeah, so they just take lead in terms of executing the design of the product. But
They
they're not
lead the product growth.
Yeah, they just lead them exactly, but they are not leading a team. You know, so there's some sort of inflation, but for me as a recruiter, it looks good on the resume. No, it's more of the impression,
Yeah.
but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have reached that. But for some, yes, I'm not saying all. Yeah, but in the end, it's how you fare in the interview and how you're
Yeah.
able to make a good impression through
Yeah.
the interview process to the hiring manager. I mean, in the end, it's all about how you can deliver, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but does that backfire though? Like, let's say, okay, now you think that you're going to hire this lead designer, and then they come in, then they perform more like a senior designer. Does that actually drastically reduce your impression of them? Like, what up, bro? You think you lead designer?
Like on paper, it sounds like wow.
Then like,
so,
yeah, don't hire you lah.
yeah. Then when you hire the person day to day, then realize actually this person cannot do the job.
Yeah, does that
Or maybe it's not performing as how you
Okay, that one
expected.
I can't say because my job is only to place, right? But of course, the clients will feedback.
Okay.
So usually you'll have your 3 months probation,
Right.
right? So for like recruitment companies, right, when we sign a contract with the company that we want to help to hire, the part of the contract would have the guarantee period. If let's say I place a designer and a designer doesn't do well in their job, didn't pass the probation, which is the 3 months, they will fire that designer, and then I will need to find a replacement. But then after that, that's where I get the feedback. Oh, like why this person, you said that he lead product designer, but he's not doing the job. But that's also on the company's fault. So they would need to have a better assessment
Yeah.
as to like moving forward in their interview process, or change some aspect of the interview process so that they can screen the candidate better. For recruiters, we only do the screening round.
Yeah.
And we help to prep the candidate, giving all the information that you need about the company, the hiring manager, because I also want them to get the job, right?
Yeah.
But in the end, the decision doesn't boil down to me, it boils down to the hiring manager. Yeah.
Okay. It sounds like you are the coffee meets bagel platform. You just help the matching to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But the actual, like, do they want to pursue this?
Yeah.
It's totally up to their discretion.
It's up to the candidate, like they also have a say, and the hiring manager also has the say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as the hiring manager is evaluating the candidate is also evaluating the company.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So we wrapped up the previous section, which is on design job market overview in Singapore. Now I'm going to move on to the next section, which is on hiring and interviews. So Sangeetha, can you just walk through with us what's the current standard hiring process for user experience designers?
Okay, so the first round would usually be the screening round. So that's when the HR will usually give a call if you're shortlisted for an interview. And then if you are, then that's where you meet with the hiring manager. So this person will usually be the person whom you'll be reporting to.
Okay.
Yeah. After that, then that's where you get a design challenge. So it's either the whiteboarding or the take-home design challenge. And then all goes well, then that's where you meet with the final round, and that's usually with the stakeholders. So it can either be 2 hiring managers, or it can also be a panel. So it depends. So this is really subjective to the company. And it's also subjective to whether it's an MNC or a startup. Usually startups, the hiring process would usually be shorter.
How
So
short is it?
Usually it will be like 3 rounds. So first round, either HR, followed by either the hiring manager. So sometimes they will either issue a design challenge as well. So, and then the final round is with the stakeholders.
I'm very curious about this design challenge that you mentioned. I think it's quite a controversial one, because some of the question that we have is like, what's the point of a design challenge?
Yes, there's a lot of feedback, like mixed feedback about design challenges. There's like different impressions, right? So whiteboarding can be pretty stressful because you're doing it on the spot.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get very nervous.
Yeah.
And that can also be a disadvantage.
I feel
to
that
your
it
work.
can backfire on people
Yeah.
who have certain ways of working when you're doing a whiteboard challenge live like that.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't really necessarily have all the information that you need. You're usually forced to make a lot of assumptions as well. And sometimes added with the stress factor, like you don't really perform up to your standard. But some designers I've spoken to really thrive in
Design
whiteboarding.
challenge.
Like
Oh,
they
what?
work well under stress.
Yeah.
Oh,
So which is
okay.
great. And then the take-home design challenge, on the other hand, usually you take a few days. The topics in terms of the case study that's given to you, it can be super like similar to what the product is, and sometimes it can be considered as free work. technically.
Outsourcing.
Yeah, outsourcing. So yes, but the only thing is that for take-home design challenge, some companies, they don't really give designers the chance to present. So sometimes they just assess the homework.
Like you submit.
You
Without
submit
presenting.
they submit the design challenge, but then they basically like rate the work.
Oh.
And then based on the work that they've done, then they will shortlist whether they want to have a chat with the designer or not.
Oh,
That sounds a bit unfair though.
So this is what some companies do, but I'm not saying all.
Oh, okay.
Between the live whiteboarding session and the take-home exercise, what are they trying to look out for, or what are they trying to assess?
They're trying to assess their thought process. They want to understand how designers come about with their solutions, the way they think, the way they execute.
So they
Right.
don't access based on how they present.
So if it's whiteboarding, then yes, then
Oh,
you
yeah,
are
yeah.
able to communicate, right? But if it's a take-home design challenge, then that depends.
For this design challenge, right, are they more applicable for junior, mid levels? Then if for senior and more senior levels, do they still have this sort of challenges, or it's not
Junior to
relevant anymore?
Junior to senior level, I would say yes. Managerial level also sometimes, but their case studies are usually different. For managerial level, usually they will assess the people skills. They will really ask, how do you handle conflict? How do you handle team management? Like those sort of questions. For director level, okay, personally for me, I don't think a design challenge is needed. Honestly, it doesn't make, because the experience would already be obvious
Yeah.
as to how the design work is.
Have you ever had candidates that actually decline design challenges?
Oh yeah.
Then what happened?
Some of the design leaders that say when I was hiring for a head of design, a couple of them actually told me they felt offended that they were asked to do a design challenge. They were like, I have 15 years of experience. Why the hell would I need to do a design challenge? No way. Like, I've done this job for many years. I'm not going to do free work.
Then you never tell them this is actually the challenge.
Then I'm
See how
like-
you react to design challenges.
Oh, nice one.
The candidates were saying that if they want, I can talk them through my thought process, but I'm not going to spend a couple of hours doing it. Like, I have better shit to do. Where I'm being
Nice.
paid to do. So I'm like, I mean, the person's
not
not
wrong.
wrong. Oh
Yeah.
God. Like,
Yeah.
the person's not wrong. I agree with him.
But that's not your job. Do that,
Yeah.
mediate that as well.
Yeah, I did ask the client why is there a need. Then they was like, no, it's just
SOP.
part of the process. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, all the other candidates are going through this. Yeah, so I was like, okay.
And like looking at the whole process, do you think it's effective in judging or assessing a candidate?
I think the assessment boils down to the type of questions that you ask. Of course, for designers, it's not just about the interviews, it's also the portfolio.
That's the proof of their skill set.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. You know, how else would you assess a designer, right?
Yeah.
But the key aspect is really the questions that is being asked. The right questions would help to shortlist the right candidates. And that's how you get the right people for the company.
But how do you truly understand this person's soft skills? How do they empathize? How do they show respect to their team members? Like all this.
Okay, for me personally, if I'm able to have a great conversation with the candidate, that's when I know that this person is a people's person. That means they are able to collaborate well. Because usually my screening process would usually take about 30 minutes.
Okay. So after this duration, you will evaluate and see whether this person, was it nice talking to this person or not?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Because I'll get a vibe as to who the person is, whether can this person work well with people.
Right.
Some people, of course,
Yeah.
they take time to
Warm up.
adapt, to warm up, right?
Yeah.
But in during an interview, you're only allocated a certain time.
Yeah.
So you gotta warm up pretty quickly, right? Right? I mean, I'm just saying, like, for the whole idea of an interview is also to make a good impression,
Yeah.
right?
Precisely.
So for me is okay. In terms of communication skills, the way they communicate and showcase the projects, the way the storytelling behind it, and I think for empathy would be how they conduct their user interviews. So the questions that they ask. So usually I will go to the portfolio
Yeah.
and then I'll ask them, okay, how do you conduct user interviews? Can you share with me how you came up with the persona? What are some of the questions that you ask? Let's say if the role is more UX based, then I would ask those questions.
I also have a question. So what do you think of, all these vibe checks, right? Is it easier to get that sense of this person in person, or remote is fine enough to do that?
For screening?
Yeah.
To get the vibe check.
Yeah, to understand more about this person.
Okay, so for me, generally most of my calls are done virtually or if not over the phone. But nowadays I see a lot of companies, they will have at least one round of interview will be done in person. Especially for startups. Especially for startups, for early stage startup. This is something that I've noticed as well.
The reason being?
It's because for smaller companies, right, they work way more closely with one another.
And long hours.
Really need
And
to
long
gel
hours,
well.
like you gotta basically, it's gonna be a second home,
Yeah.
right?
Imagine.
So you have to be able to vibe really well.
I've heard stories of my friends who interviewed at a startup. It was a crypto startup. And then he had to go for lunch with them.
Oh, for the screening, for the interview.
Yeah, as part of one of their rounds.
Yeah, it's not so conventional.
Yeah. He found it weird when he
Like
when he told me about it.
Like a date. But I understand the whole idea of doing it in person, because there's a lot of things you can catch about that person that is very hard to catch when you do virtually.
Yeah, not only that, it's also usually companies do that to help introduce the candidate to the rest of the people to see. They want to make sure that they need to vibe with everyone because it's more of the culture fit. In order for the company to really do well, everyone needs to get along with one another.
Yeah.
And they need to be able to work with one another as well.
At the end of the day, it's all about relationships. How
Exactly.
you work with people.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's really about building rapport.
But that also goes to show, like, let's say you did not pass the round of that vibe check, right? Sometimes it's not about you, but maybe your vibes just don't match.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't mean that you're not good as a person.
Maybe
right?
so
Your
what you're
energy
saying,
just does not
so what you're
match.
saying is that maybe the team already has a certain sort of vibe there, but your vibe doesn't gel well with the team's vibe.
Yeah, I mean, like, the teams also want to protect their culture, especially I guess for startups. Like they really care about that culture, right?
So one of the things that you mentioned, the cryptocurrency, so the Web3, right?
Yeah.
Web3 space. For me, I kind of call it as a cult. It's because they are so extremely passionate about crypto and they believe in it.
Yeah.
Not everyone believes in it.
Yeah.
So if you want to work for a cryptocurrency, usually one of the checks, like part of the interview process, is like they test your knowledge and they test your passion
On cryptocurrency.
on crypto. You gotta be in it. You gotta understand.
Yeah.
That's why they go for lunch, because they want to see if you pay in crypto.
No, before that, he was my friend. I just remember my friend told me the founder actually gave him a book to read in 1 week about crypto and come for lunch. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, you gotta have that knowledge and you gotta be really passionate about it.
So in the segment on hiring and interview, actually we have a lot of listeners' questions. So we're just gonna throw you that now. So the first one is, why do you keep asking what's my current salary? I think that's irrelevant to my skill set.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So usually when recruiters or HR, when they ask for current or expected salary, it's just to gauge what the market rate is and what you're looking for. The whole intention behind it is to understand what your value is. Okay, for me as an external recruiter, right, it's really just to understand your expected. So it's not a must for you all to share what your current salary is, but it's also for me to pinpoint to the candidate what you're asking is reasonable. Because if you're asking a salary that's way above the market rate, then it's my job to tell you whether that is practical or not.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of the market rate, I guess we can also slot in another question, which is, how do you, as a recruiter, and also companies, collect data and know they are paying the market rate in the industry?
The salary data.
Okay. All right. The one, you can go to this website called Design Pay Asia. That is actually where designers anonymously actually contribute what the salary is. So that's where I actually also gather my information. But for me, it's really because I work with so many companies, right? I speak to many clients and I'm usually on the ground. So for me, I'm able to gather the information directly.
I guess for the first question, right, like, why do you keep asking my salary? To empathize with this person, I feel like their thinking is that, are you trying to lowball me? Yeah. So what's your take on that? Should the candidates disclose their salary first, or should you as a recruiter just supply that salary range?
What I can advise is that if that is part of the screening round with the HR of the company that you're interviewing for, you don't have to disclose your current salary. That's your right. But you can also ask what the budget is. But it's also fair for the HR to also understand what number that you are actually expecting. You can give a range, you can give an estimate number as well. Sometimes some candidates, they don't feel comfortable in sharing what their current salary, which is fine. But then I will also ask them, all right, just tell me a range of what you are expected, and I can share with you whether if this meets the budget of the role or not. If it doesn't meet the budget, then there's no point of me shortlisting you or moving your profile further. So it's just to be transparent with the HR and also try to get a sense as to whether if this role is worth you pursuing or not.
I've seen an Instagram post. I think she's a recruiter or designer, I can't remember. But she was saying about salary expectations. And then she's like saying, what would be a good answer for this question? Like, I'm interviewing at places where the market rate is around this number to this number. So instead of telling them what is her expected salary, she is telling them that currently interviewing with companies who are offering.
Yeah, that's a very smart answer as well. Yeah, for me, like the bottom line is if you're not comfortable in sharing your current salary, then you don't have to, but you gotta give at least some number or a range so that the HR or the hiring manager would understand what you're looking for, and then they can share with you whether if that is within the budget or not. That's all.
Right. Okay. So the next question is, what are some red flags for both candidates and interviewers?
Okay, before I even speak to the candidate, we will look at the resume or the portfolio. Usually long resumes are definitely a red flag.
How long is long?
Yeah. Scroll how
Ideal resume is like 1 page. A 1 pager is great.
Oh,
That's the best.
But
That's
the
the
PDF
best.
can be very long also, like 1 page.
One long page.
Yeah, one long page.
Yeah, but straight to the point, not too wordy, good paragraphing alignments, no spelling errors, I'm able to skim through and get the information that I need. So anything more than 2 pages is a red flag.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, because for the hiring manager, you put yourself in their shoes. It's like they have other jobs to do and they are interviewing a lot of candidates as well. So you gotta be able to capture the attention. And then another one is when the portfolio is not great, when it's too tacky. So for example, I've come across portfolios where the background is like bright pink or like bright yellow.
you mean the visual design is too...
The visual design is too distracting.
Okay.
And the font is like a bit too childish. Like they use the Comic Sans font.
So on this same topic, right, another listener's question is, were there any candidates that left an impression on you and what made them stand out?
I would say usually the ones that made an impression will be ones who were really able to...
The childish...
Okay, that's on the negative aspect.
That's a negative impression.
That's a
Did left an impression.
Yeah. Towards like positive impressions, I would say somebody who's able to communicate really well and have a really in-depth conversation within the first chat. Then that person would naturally be on my mind. And the more conversations you have with the same person, then of course you remember the person, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so sometimes I tell my candidates, keep in touch with me.
Let's see.
I may not be able to because I speak to, but once in a while, drop me a message. Like sometimes that's why I go for these events, right? Sometimes I meet the same people. I'm like, I know you.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just like stick in your memory.
Yeah. For example, there was this designer whom I met in 2021. I reached out to him just to check because I found his profile very intriguing. At a point, I was just getting to know designers. And then he got laid off in 2021.
Okay.
And then 1 year later, I was working for a role with a specific client. And immediately, I thought of him. Because then this was like 1 year later.
Yeah.
I'm going to reach out to this candidate because I remember that he's so driven. I reached out to him and then he got the job.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So when you reach out to him, it was just nice he was looking for a job.
Yeah, he was open.
Okay. So ability to hold deep conversations, great portfolio, and show that you are very driven.
And one
That's
page
the things
resume.
and one page resume with
Yes,
no
one page
kiddie
resume.
texts.
Please, highly encouraged.
All right. Next listener's question. What's the difference in supporting recruitment for a large organization versus a tiny team?
All right, yes. So helping startups with their hiring
Yeah.
is for me much more easier as
Okay.
compared to helping MNCs.
Why
Because
is that
for
so?
MNCs, usually external recruiters like myself, we
Yeah.
don't have direct access to the hiring manager. I need to liaise with the HR.
Okay.
And not all HRs have the specialty or the knowledge of the role that they're recruiting for. For startups, I usually go directly to the decision maker, who is the hiring manager or the founder. Yeah. And they are able to better tell me requirements of who they are looking for.
I imagine like the bigger organization, you have more levels to work through to get to the decision
exactly.
maker.
For example, the banks.
Ah,
You
yes.
have to go through a certain protocol. They are very strict, right?
Yeah.
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 And usually the first round of contact would be the HR.
Ah,
Unless I know the hiring manager personally, I have a number,
yeah.
then I can reach out to her and say, hey, tell me what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the more levels you get, the more fuzzy the
Yeah.
details are. So compared to like, let's say you condense everything in this one small team, there's so much more clarity in what they want in a candidate as well.
Exactly. They are much more clearer. Most importantly would be the feedback.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
You mean they feedback to you about the candidate?
They do. I mean, if I'm working with a startup, usually I work with the decision makers,
Yes.
and I usually have their mobile phones. Like my rapport with them
Yeah.
is much more on a deeper level, more personal level, as compared to working with the HRs from MNCs. Usually it's a little more transactional, more surface level relationship, because yours is like, okay, yes or no, or you want to interview or not? Yes, no, okay, move on.
I imagine the organization, the bigger one is through email, and then the startup ones is through WhatsApp.
Oh yeah. The director always say, you got a number? Okay.
Yeah, just call me.
Don't message, just call, which is great.
Yeah. Okay, so next question is, what's your take on a candidate who applied for a role but then informs you that she's pregnant? Would you still proceed or not?
Wow. I mean, for me, I would still proceed. No issues. That is whether the client is
Open to accepting.
open to that situation. I mean, it depends on how far she is in her pregnancy.
Should the candidate like keep it a secret until like they already confirm and hide for the job,
Yeah.
then they reveal it, or should they be upfront with you and just be honest, like, oh, by the way, I'm also pregnant during the interview rounds?
Well, it depends on whether if she's showing or not.
Oh, okay.
If she's showing, then I would say the smart answer will be to tell. Right?
okay,
If
okay.
not, if they find out later, it will leave a very bad impression as well.
When they start
Because-
working together.
Yeah,
right?
because you gotta take note that there's a probation period as well. So you want to make through the probation period. If you are really, really early in the pregnancy, like I don't know, 2 months or what, then I think it's still okay. But if you're showing, then just be honest. Yeah, because at least early on, 2 months, you still got
Yeah.
maybe 6 months or what.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so you still have
So you
time
can
to prove
perform.
yourself. Perhaps even like do some deliverables. You know, so it's still okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You 8 months already, you straight away
Yeah.
go delivery, but it's another kind.
Yeah, another deliverable.
Another delivery.
So moving on to the next question. Does your evaluation changes given the candidate's career history? So like for example, if the candidate who has been a freelancer for many years compared to a candidate who has been working full time. Because like for example, freelancer, it's not clear cut to see where this person's skill set is. Yeah, how do you evaluate that?
I think it depends on how long they've been freelancing. By the way, freelancing is a full-time job. So just to say that, for me, it is considered a full-time job. So it's just that you just have more flexibility, right? So
And it's a side hustle.
yeah,
It's a full-time side hustle.
yeah, it's a full-time, yeah, because it is considered as working experience. Usually, I tell my clients who are not so familiar with what designers do, I say freelancing is considered a job, and also depends on the projects. Whether if they have actually worked on a project from 0 to 1 and the project has been launched.
But I think that common question freelancers have is, like for example, they see a JD, right? Then the JD will say, oh, this is for junior level or mid-level, senior level. And they don't know which level to apply to.
Okay, depends on how long they've been freelancing. That's one thing.
Okay.
And also specifically for UX, let's say if they've only have done a couple of projects, then I would further on like want to speak to them and ask, okay, what do you understand? Like, have you actually conducted user interviews, you know, or are you just specifically focused on the UI?
Okay.
And that can be actually shown in the portfolio.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I've seen projects where they actually put UX branding, then graphic.
Yeah, they're doing a lot
marketing.
of things.
Yeah, it's doing a lot of things. So, but I will want to understand like which is the core area that they are focused on.
Ah,
Like, what's their
yes.
specialty?
Yeah.
Sorry, tapping onto the career history thing, right? Does it affect your perception if, let's say, the candidate has a long break in between jobs?
Is it 1 year, 3 years?
Okay, let's say 1-2 years.
1-2 years, I would say there must be a reason. Like sometimes, okay, motherhood, pregnancy, that's fine. I really appreciate when candidates tell me that, because I will ask. And I was like, okay, what happened? Like, seems to be a gap here. And then they'll be open and honest, which is better. And I'll be able to better understand and also convey that to the client if the candidate is okay with that.
Yeah.
Because that would also allow me to understand, okay, why as well.
Right.
Like sometimes layoff is totally understandable.
Yeah.
Sometimes candidates ask me, is it okay if I mention that I've been laid off? Like, would that leave a bad impression? Now I was like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very common now. It's like a freaking epidemic right now.
It's more of it's an outcome that is not within their control.
Yeah, it's not your control. Exactly. So it's totally fine. But I would say a long break depends on how long. If it's like 5 years, then maybe it might affect in terms of the quality.
Yeah.
right.
Because going back to the same craft after 5 years is going to take time for you to adapt.
Yeah.
right.
like-
And it evolves also.
It evolves, whether are you up to trend as well.
Right.
But if it's like 6 months to 1 year, it's understandable. You can still get back to the craft.
Cool. So we wrapped up hiring and interview. So now this is just a very short one on skills and attributes. There's a listener's question also on how does one stay competitive in this current market?
Keep reading and keep up to date with the latest technologies.
Okay.
Especially with AI having an impact in basically everyone's lives. I would say keep up to date with the latest AI technologies and the knowledge and what's happening around. So that's one. It's your job to read, and also it's your job to continuously hone your skills if you want to stay relevant in the market.
Right.
Yeah.
And also show that in your portfolio and interview if
Yeah.
you are applying.
Exactly. So basically, if you're able to stay in a conversation and have a in-depth conversation about what's happening in the industry right now, then that shows that you are up to date as well.
Yeah. The last question in skills and attributes is more of how does AI affect the competency of designers? You kind of answered that a little bit just now, but maybe you can just expound on this. There's a lot of AI tools out there. So how does that affect me as a product designer?
Yeah, I've actually included that in my research article as well. So AI will not replace designers.
She
I
said
would
it.
say right now.
She said it.
It's this has also been supported by the product and design leaders that I interviewed.
Unless they are AI.
Yeah.
You're actually talking to AI.
No, none of them are AI. But yeah, but it actually helps to assist you guys. So it helps to enhance your craft. So it's your job to actually learn how you can make use of them to enhance your design solutions. Because the empathy aspect, the user interviews, all that
Cannot
all
rely
that
on
have
AI.
you can't ask a freaking robot to actually do that. I mean, AI is actually there to assist you. It will not replace you. Don't be afraid, and I highly suggest that you actually make use of these tools and try to learn them and see what works for you, because there's plenty of them out there.
Yeah.
There's so many companies now introducing new design tools so try to pick one that actually works well for you and take advantage of that.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess one hopeful thing I can say also about designs and AI is that designers, we are the closest to the heart of users, to the customers. So that is very, very hard to replace by an artificial intelligence right now. Yeah.
Yep, correct.
Okay. So we've come close to the end of this episode. So we just wanted to wrap up this whole interview. Maybe you can have 3 takeaways that you want to give to our audience. Short and sweet, punchy, that they can remember from this. Like too long didn't
Just
listen.
skip to this part, is it?
Too long didn't listen. Then the listener skip to this part. Okay, so what are the 3 takeaways that you have for them?
3 takeaways would be networking. Don't be afraid to network. Even if you are introverts, just go out there, try to widen your reach to other designers. That will be a huge advantage to not just your craft and also for you to rely on your community. Secondly would be to have a curious mindset. Technology is evolving so much, so fast nowadays, and in order to stay up to date, you gotta have an open mind. Be open to learning new software tools. Just stay up to date with the latest knowledge, because having that curious mindset would also allow you to learn and grow as a designer and also as an individual. Third would be, you can come and speak to me.
Nice.
I'm always open to speaking to junior, mid-level, all kinds of
How about engineers?
engineers. Sorry, I'll refer you to my colleague.
Really just gatekeeping the engineer.
And you can connect with me, but I'll connect you with my colleague.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Your colleague will be happy to speak
Yes,
to them.
yes. So, yeah, I mean, if you ever need some advice or want to gather some market information about what's happening out there in the job market, then I'd be happy to speak to you guys.
Okay, thank you, Sangeetha, for that.
Right.
It's been a very insightful sharing so far. It's pretty long.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, every minute is very, very meaty. Like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of good insights. Personally, I don't really get to speak to a recruiter that deeply as well. So I feel like this will really serve as a good purpose for listeners out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really great speaking to you guys as well. It's my first podcast. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
I hope it didn't tire you out too much.
No. If I can sit here and talk for 2 hours or something,
2 hours.
more than 2 hours, but I'm still awake and I didn't look at my phone much, so this is great.
Oh, nice.
Engaging.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ability to hold a deep
I
conversation.
neglected my mother-in-law's call.
Oh no, you get back to her soon. But yeah, I mean, like, you just willingly sharing everything that you have for 2 hours plus with us, like, really just goes to show like your passion for the recruitment space for product designers specifically. So very thankful for that.
I'm just wondering, do you have any plans to update the research report that you did?
Yeah, I actually published it just a few months ago, but perhaps like maybe later, like depending on how the market changes. Yeah, but that's a good idea. I didn't think about that, but I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. If you do update it, then they just tell us, then we'll
Come
can
back.
help you
Come
promote,
back to this podcast.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
an update.
promote it, that another follow-up interview, and then see what happens. Anything you would like to share about any upcoming events, design events that you are going?
If any one of y'all are keen on attending design events, you can check out Singapore Product Design. So we actually host monthly networking and speaker events, so you can check them out.
Are you always there?
Most of the time, unless
Okay.
I'm not in Singapore, but yes, most of the time.
Okay. So
Oh,
that's where
nice.
listeners can catch you.
Yeah.
Yes.
In
Or you can just
person.
add me on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks Sangeetha again for this sharing.
Yay.
Woohoo. Yeah, thank you so much. And also, once again, we would like to thank Ellie for sponsoring this wonderful space for this episode as well.
Yes. So we would like to invite all our listeners to drop in your feedback, comments, or any follow-up questions you have on Spotify. We will have a poll usually. Feel free to join.
As usual, if there's any questions, follow us on Kiasu Design Live on our Instagram.
Oh yeah, thank you to all those people who actually dropped their questions on our
Oh, yeah.
poll. Okay, that's all for today.
Okay, bye.
Bye.